In this video, we'll be looking at reading and displaying struct data from a file with dynamic line count. So basically, we don't know how many lines, say, the file has, so we want to change that for loop into a while loop. We'll start with some existing code that we did in the program we wrote in video C19, read from a text file into structs. Just in case you don't want to go back to that video for a reference, we'll go through what we've done or what we have from that video. The first thing we've done is we included a header file for standard input and output library for functions like printf, open, scanf, and close. And then we've defined a structure for a person with 3 fields. That's first name, last name, and age. And then we've also used the type def here allows us to use person as an alias instead of underscore person. So just basically easier usage. We also have a function to display information, but I'm not going to talk about this function because we won't be using it in this video. Scrolling slightly down. In the main method, what we've done is we've defined an array of 5-person structures to store information about 5 people. Now, the first thing that we want to do is change this because we don't. Okay, so this is what the file has. It's got information about 5 people. Yes, but say I would delete a line, I would like the program to work with any number of fields. So what we want to do is our first change, we want to define a person structure to store information temporarily while reading. So I'm going to get rid of the array, and we only need one reference to an object or a structure, just one person. I'm going to delete the comments because we no longer reflects what we had. The next thing we have is we've opened the file for reading. We've used reading mode, and if there was a problem with the file, like it doesn't exist or some permission issues, that would the pointer would be pointing to null. So then here we're checking for errors. If there was an issue, we display a message to the user, and then we return 1 indicating there was a problem. Next point was we read data from the file. So this is how we read data from the file. We looped through each line, so 5 times from 0 to 4. And we scanned the information that we read from the file into our array. So that part is going to change. What we want to do is we want to read data from the file dynamically using a while loop. So let's change some information there. First thing I want to do is I want to print a message to the user to let them know that we are reading data from the file. And let's just have a new line there and get rid of this part. We don't need it. Next, we'll get rid of that I. We don't need it because we're going to do a while. So while. And then I actually will get rid of that whole I is equal to. And we'll have while f scan. So that comment here should reflect what we want to do. The fscanf function reads data from the file line by line and continues until it fails to match all 3 expected values, which is 2 strings and an integer. So string 1, string 2, and integer. So that's going to change. So we're reading from file 2 strings and an integer. And now we will just use our reference, the person structure. Okay, so p dot first name, p dot last name, and p dot age, person dot age. And as long as that's equal to 3, we keep reading. So as long as each line has got 1, 2, 3 elements or items, whatever's there, then we continue to read. So that's how this while loop is working. Sorry, I did mention that I won't be using this display person, but I actually want to do that. So what I would be doing instead is copy this line. I'm going to copy it and put it in here. So display person, and let's go to display only that person. I might put a comment here just to, I feel like got something, too much info. We're not breaking, so that's something we should get rid of. And get rid of that, because we previously had a for loop and an if. That's why we had those extra 2 opening and closing brackets. But I did want to put a comment here saying that we are displaying the data as it's read. In the previous version, it was reading the data into the array of people, basically. But see, this is one thing we need to keep in mind about this video or this program, is we are not storing the data. So as soon as we read the line, we print it out. And then on the next loop, when we're reading this line, it gets overwritten. Whatever was in the first, was written first will be overwritten by the second and the third and the fourth and so on. But in the next video or in future videos, I'll show how we can store the information. Okay, now the last thing is we close the file. We no longer need this part because anyway, we haven't stored the information from the file, so we can't really display it later. And plus, we've already displayed it here. Since I did not speak about this function, I'll scroll slightly up and before the main where this function has been declared, I'll talk quickly about it. This function is used to display information about a person, and it takes person as an argument. We've used the format specifier to print 2 strings, a comma and an integer. Sorry, %d for an integer. So it prints the person's first name, last name, and age in the format of first name, last name, and age. So now what we want to do is we want to compile, make sure I have not made any mistakes. Next, we'll run it and just make sure that it's actually reading data as expected. And it is. So now what happens if I duplicate the data, say again, I've got now 10 lines instead of 5. This program should still work without me having to change anything. Whereas in the previous version, it was only holding 5 lines. So I hope this video has helped you to read and display as we read structure data from a file with dynamic line count. And we've changed that from the for loop to the while loop. So stay tuned. If you wanted to store the information in this point, stay tuned for the next video. Thank you for watching.